All right. Thank you to the board members who are here tonight, where this is Learn About LHiNC, a virtual question and answer, so that folks who are interested in potentially joining the board can hear from current board members about what it's like on the board, what they do, what they enjoy. So I just want to start off by having we can all introduce ourselves. I am Becky Allen. I'm the current executive director. I am stepping down at the end of the month, and actually the next executive director is also here with us tonight, so I'll let her introduce herself now.
My name is Gina Rautenberg. I am currently the chair of the Linden Hills Neighborhood Council, which we call LHiNC. At the end of the month, I will be stepping in as executive director, which is our part-time paid position that Becky has held for the last 7 years, and I'll take it over beginning in October of 2023.
And as the dominoes fall, my name is Bali Kumar, and I am the current vice chair, soon to be chair of the Linden Hills Neighborhood Council.
My name is Metzger. I don't have a title like all these other guys. I'm just a regular board member. I think I've been on the board for the shortest amount of time, but it's been great.
Wonderful. All right. So just to get us started, I'll just give some basic information. So LHiNC is one of 80 plus neighborhoods in Minneapolis, and there are a little bit over 70 neighborhood organizations. So they are all nonprofits. So they are not underneath the city. We do receive funding from the city, but we are our own nonprofit. We, as a board, have 15 board members. They serve 2-year terms. And so half the seats are up for re-election each year, 1 year 7, 1 year 8. Our elections are held in October. This year they will kick off on October 10th. And then there's a week-long time period for online voting. On October 10th, all candidates are invited to come to our annual meeting and give a 2-minute statement sharing why they want to run. But there's also an application online that you need to fill out beforehand, and that is due on October 3rd. So 1 week before we kick off the election cycle, so that we can share those answers with the community. So with that, I just wanted to kick off this conversation by asking the board members who are here, maybe number one, like why they got involved, and then why they've stayed involved.
Sure. Should we go in our same order?
Yeah,
kick it off. So I joined the board in October of 2020. I had a 4 or 5 month old daughter at the time. COVID was still really scary. And I just wanted to learn more about what was going on in my neighborhood at a time when you couldn't really safely leave the house or do a lot. So at the time, LHiNC had been doing a lot of really great communications around just what to expect as COVID was taking over. And I found it to be really helpful. And I wanted to be a part of the team that was communicating all those changes, and also learn about what might happen as the neighborhood opened back up, which I've really enjoyed being a part of, gathering the neighborhood together for our festival and other events since COVID has sort of ramped down a bit and it's become safer for everyone to gather again. So that's been really fulfilling over the last 3 years.
Thanks, Gina.
I joined the board because I was new to the neighborhood. I didn't really know folks. I was new to the state. I'm from New York City. I was working in Michigan, and I got a job out here, and I was basically commuting out here for it. And at some point I was like, okay, I should just like move here. Why am I flying out here for basically half of my month? And it was a great way for me to plug in and instantly know people and instantly have community. So selfishly, it's always fun to give back and to do stuff, but it's also fun to have a community to do stuff with.
Excellent.
Oh, sweet. Not growing up in Linden Hills, but moving to Linden Hills in 2021, I joined the board a couple months after moving to Linden Hills, and just such a stark comparison of where I grew up versus where I was at. I really wanted to add some much needed diversity to the neighborhood. to the board. And I feel I've done that, and it's been great to be involved with the community and the board in general.
Thank you, guys. That's great. To kind of move on, maybe to give folks an idea of the kind of work we do. So there are board meetings once a month, and those are 2 hours in length, and we hold them at the Recreation Center, but they're also online. And then we have currently 3 committees. Each board member is asked to serve on one of those committees, and that's those are typically an hour to hour and a half meetings, also typically monthly. So that's like a basic idea of just the meetings. And then there are 2 large events that we do. We do the festival, which is coming up on September 30th, so the Fall Festival. And that is a big lift. So right around that time, we all work a little bit harder and a little bit more. The other big event is Taste of Linden Hills. That's a fundraiser that we do. It's at St. Thomas Apostle, along with all of the restaurants in the neighborhood. And that event benefits our neighborhood grants program. So those are the 2 big events. And then we do lots of small events in between. But we say that it's between 6 to 10 hours a month of time that we ask. So what I'd love for folks to do is kind of go around now and talk about different things you've worked on and enjoyed working on with the board. And also please feel free to share what that time commitment is actually like and what that feels like.
Sure. I can kick it off. I've been the vice chair and the chair for the last 2 years. So I would say my commitment is maybe a little bit higher, or around maybe 10 or 12, 15 hours a month. But when I was a regular board member, it was much lower than that. And so usually the 3 hours worth of meetings, or 3 to 4 hours worth of meetings per month, and then a small commitment on top of that. Becky, did you want us to share some projects we worked on as well?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And also things you've enjoyed working on.
Okay. I would say in the first 2 years on the board, the main thing I worked on was getting our block captain list. So at the time, the city wasn't able to share their list of block captains, and we really wanted to reward people who were hosting some kind of national night out party or annual block party. So we put out a big call to get all of the block captains listed so that we could give them kind of some tips on how to host a good party, and then also little swag bags. So we've given away Frisbees, kid sunglasses, and this year some like compostable plates and napkins. So that was really rewarding. It was also, I would say, a pretty low commitment, but really high impact for the organization. So that took, maybe 3 or 4 hours max per year to pull off. So a really small amount of time, again, for that big impact. And then the largest project I've worked on has been the playground fundraising committee. So after a new playground was installed in August of 2021, it had significantly less equipment than what the neighborhood had been used to in the past. And so we have worked for the last 2 years to put together a fundraising project that just closed today, which was to raise $68,000 in a full 50-50 split fundraiser, $34,000 going to the Linden Hills Playground and $34,000 going to Hall Park in Near North neighborhood. The main reason I bring up that project is it's kind of an example of one of the bigger things that the council would take on. And I did do it with the help of Becky, our executive director, every step of the way, as well as a small committee of neighborhood community members who wanted to be involved. So it was a bigger project, but also really fun and fulfilling now that it's closed off.
Thanks, Gina.
Guys, Zach, if you want to break up the order, let's do it.
Can I get the question repeated one more time? I'm sorry.
No problem. So we were just talking about projects you've been involved with, but it was actually, there's a 2-part question. So one part was I had characterized it about 6 to 10 hours a month, and I wanted to hear from you guys about whether you found that to be true, if it's less or more. And then secondarily, as far as the time you have spent with the council, what are some of the things you've enjoyed most doing with the council?
Okay. Sorry to make you repeat that.
That's
it's
right.
Definitely 10 hours for everybody except Becky and soon to be Gina. But I would say, yeah, with the Zoom calls and any potential events we may have, 6 to 10 is accurate. I don't think, because I'm such a freshman and I was out of the country for the first part of my being a part of the board that I've really been too involved in any particular event that we've had, to be honest. I helped really clean up after Taste of Linden Hills, which was glorious. And now moving forward here, just in a couple of days, actually, the Linden Hills Festival, which I'm very excited for. But I don't think I've really played an integral part in any event yet because of my limited time in the board thus far.
I think you're a great example.
Wait a minute. I was at the Encanto.
Yeah,
the movies in the park.
I was going to say, you're a great example of somebody, though, because we have some last minute events that pop up, and you're always the first person to say that you'll be there when we have a last minute event. So as much as we need people who are running committees and projects, we also need people who are willing to come if something might pop up.
Definitely be like, I'll do it. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, right? Like everything, this is a volunteer board. And so everything is flexible because this is no one's full-time job. And so everybody has to be flexible around each other's schedules, around each other's lives. I'm probably an example of a person who I'm on the road a ton. Like I remember there was a week where, and that's why the hybrid flexibility is super useful because, I can log into a meeting from LA or from New York or from like wherever I have to like be for work. So that's super useful because you wouldn't want to preclude people from being on the board. But I'm out of town so much that like I participate where I can, when I can. And I can, so for instance, I'm out of town a lot of weekends, but it just so happens that a lot of weekends that I am in town, we are volunteering at the Camden Collective. And I think the volunteering and like the connection between Southwest Minneapolis and North Minneapolis is like a very neat feature of the neighborhood council, and it's something that another one of our council members pushed, and it's something that's really integrated within what we do. And so this whole like creating connections across Minneapolis, I think is pretty awesome.
Thanks, Bali. I just want to take a second and introduce Courtney. Courtney, we at the beginning just kind of briefly introduced ourselves and talked about like how long we've been on the board and why we got involved. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be great.
Absolutely. Sorry for being late. I had a little class to be to, so I appreciate it. My name's Courtney. I live on 44th and Chowan. I joined the board last year, I think. Yeah, last year. And I joined to be a little bit of representation for our neighbors and to connect with community. I think that especially after our 2020 incident, community has been maybe shyer to come out or maybe itching to come out, but being that kind of like gaslight to be like, hey, you are welcome to join us. Yes, come out. Yes, we have things for you. I think is one reason why I joined the board. And also for neighbors that look like me to feel like they have someone like me representing them or joining them and saying, yes, you can come too. You are welcome as well. So that's, I guess, my big piece.
That's fantastic. Absolutely perfect. And I think this is a really great point that Bali was just making. Like, we're all volunteers. The hybrid makes it, we do all of our meetings hybrid. It makes it easy for folks to jump in and jump out when they need to. And we are just grateful for the time and the energy and the talent that you can throw our way. And that's, we have a really great group of folks. And so everybody's willing to pick up if you pick up where you leave off. And so that's a great dynamic of this group. So we've kind of talked about projects we've been working on, and like why we got involved, but to make it maybe a little bit lighter, like what is it you enjoy about the board? What like keeps you coming back? Because we've talked about board meetings and committee meetings, and I know those things can feel a little bit heavier. We do try to make them lighter when we can. But yeah, just a little bit about what you enjoy and why you think folks would like being part of this group.
I I can kick it off. I just think there's such a power in feeling connected to folks that are in your community. And a few ways that's happened for me that have really made me not only grateful for having been on LHiNC, but wanted to stick around longer. I realized both my kids, two of their really good friends were from daycare where their parents were on, one of their moms was on LHiNC. Sorry, I didn't describe that very well, but my kids were going to school with another LHiNC member's kids. And it took us a couple months to realize that. And we've since been able to have play dates and hang out. And I run into them every day at kindergarten drop off. And it just made me feel like it was a much smaller world. And through those connections, I've met a ton of other incoming kindergarten parents this year, which was really lovely for my kids to be able to know them in advance. So things like that just make it feel like this is just the best thing that's ever happened to me, to be on this board and to be able to walk around. And I was on a walk last week. I ran into Becky. I returned the corner. I ran into another member, Daniel. I met Sebastian Joes. I run into Bali. It just makes you feel like you're living in a little bit more of a small town, even though it's in the middle of the city. And I love that. And I also love being able to tell my neighbors or friends or folks who are maybe a little bit less connected what's going on. I feel like I'm the number one person on my block and within my little community of neighbors that people ask, they're like, hey, what's going on with the band shell? When will the band shell be painted? I'm like, I know the answer to that. I know when the playground's getting installed. So also if you're just sort of someone who is either nosy or likes to be in the know, being on the neighborhood council is a really good place for you because you're going to hear stuff before anyone else does. And then you can also start sharing that with the folks that you know, which is really fun.
Yeah, piggybacking on that, I think I may have had drinks with almost everyone on the board at Wooden Ship. It's just the local bar. I like just the ability to unwind with folks I know, good folks who are interesting and interested.
Wow, I've never heard that quote, interesting and interested, but I just want to start off by saying, Gina, you didn't have to call out Bali and his ice cream addiction. We know he lives in but you didn't have to take it there. That was uncalled for.
You're right. I should have said Wooden Ship. Then they would have gone toward the beer. I don't know what's better.
Yeah, beer, not as bad as ice cream. Okay. I think you guys summed it up pretty well, for sure. Being in the know is critical. Bali, like you said on a previous answer, just having that community makes doing things a lot more fun. Or like Gina, you said, you'll walk down the street, you'll see Becky. Or when you walk down the street and you see all of Becky's dogs' relatives. You're like, it's Becky's dog's brother, Becky's dog's sister. That's fun. It does make it feel like kind of
dog. It's a very dog-focused board right now. Yeah, see, BYO dog.
Yeah, it is. Especially after Wolfstock, we might see Courtney with a Great Dane here.
Oh my gosh.
Forward. But no, you guys really hit the nail on the head for sure. I'll use your answer. It was great. I agree.
Yeah, Gina really hit it. I think for me as well, I have learned a lot about what a neighborhood council does. I have learned a lot about people in my community and what their needs and wants are. And I think that's, it's super important to build community. You have to understand like what is important to them. And when you're able to know those things, when you walk into the co-op and you see somebody that you may have seen on a Zoom or not, you're like, hey, there's connection here. I know something about you, or here's something that we can connect on because I learned it at LHiNC. I think that's really fun. I used to work at the produce stand that's Untieds, and that's where I first met one of our LHiNC members. Actually, one of our LHiNC members was like, hey, when I joined LHiNC, she was like, I remember you worked at da-da-da. So there was like an immediate connection. I would say that it definitely like makes it feel a little bit homey, but you never forget, like, you're by a lake and you're by a big city. You're just like touches away. And yet you can walk down the street and be like, you can be in Kenny, and even in the Kenny neighborhood, and you're like, oh, hey Becky, hey, I know you, like just combining with other neighborhood councils. Yeah, that's why I love it.
I gotta say, shout out to Dee Dee Dada, because Courtney, show us your hat.
I was wondering, I couldn't tell.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's the Linden Hills hat.
Take the zoom off or take the focus off. What does that say?
I don't know
Oh,
how.
Linden Hills.
Yeah,
I
no,
love those.
we
They
can see
also
it.
sell sweatshirts. We're doing
Yeah,
like
their
an ad for
sweatshirts
them.
are cute.
Well, those are all, that's excellent. Just to share with folks, a main thing and what you heard there was a lot about connection. And that's something that's really important, I think, to all the board members and to our organization. We're about connecting our community to each other. We're also about connecting our residents to the city and the city to our residents. So as far as when issues come up, making sure that we can help neighbors get in touch with the people they need to at the city, but also helping the city when they have things that they need to get out to the communities, that we can make that happen. But even in a larger part, we have been working in the past few years, especially, to also connect our little neighborhood to the larger city. And that's something we continue to work on. But connection really is something that we focus on. So do you have a question, Courtney?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that connecting the city to the neighborhood is crazy. I've never had so much interaction with our city council member before coming to LHiNC. And as you learn more about what's happening, you're like, this is direct contact, and whether it's good or bad or whatever it is that she's saying, it's like you get that chance to interact with the higher council.
And we have great opportunities. We usually have our school board member come in and talk. Our park board member sometimes comes in. And that's part of our role, is trying to, keep those things connected, keep people aware. And as you said, so if that's of interest to you too, to be, like connected to and engage with decision makers within the city, that is something that happens.
And
go ahead, Bali.
And on the interested / maybe a little nosy tip, there are people who are super interested in, like, there's a plot of land, it has a sign on it, it looks like somebody's going to build on it, but it's just sort of sitting there. What's happening? Great option to join the Zoning and Housing Committee, because literally I was on a walk the night before the Zoning and Housing Committee meeting, and I walked by 42nd and Upton, where there's a lot, and I was like, man, what is happening here? Like, are they going to build something? What are they going to build? Can I have it? Like, what's going on? And the next day, they were at the Zoning and Housing Committee meeting, and they're asking for 3 variances. And if those variances are granted, then they'll be able to build what they're trying to build, which is 1 very large house and 2 row homes. They need variances for sort of setbacks that aren't automatically allowable. So I got to immediately know what I was nosing about the night before. And of course, I immediately reported it back to my fiance when I got home. I was like, just so you know, we can't have it. We will not be living there.
Well, and that's a great segue, Bali, because that you're starting to talk about our committees. So that's one of our committees, which is zoning and housing. They hear variances. So if any homeowner or a developer is doing a project in the neighborhood, the zoning committee finds out about it. If they need a variance, which means it doesn't quite meet the code and they have to ask for permission from the city, then they have to go before the zoning board. Zoning also deals with, we've kind of moved it into kind of a city planning area, where if there's controversial projects or projects that some neighbors are upset about or concerned or have questions about, even if there aren't variances, we'll convene meetings and create the opportunity for the developer or the homeowner to kind of field questions, and for the 2 groups to feel heard from each other. So that's kind of the feeling of them. But they also, they did a mapping prejudice talk last fall, where they had Rebecca, I'm going to forget her last name. Do you remember her last name?
I don't
remember it, but yeah, the head of the Mapping Prejudice Project.
Yes, come in and talk not just about the project in general, but about its kind of Linden Hills particularly, and the impact of racial covenants here, even though they weren't necessarily on the leases, but just how it affected housing here. It was a great talk. You can still find it on our YouTube channel. And then there's also a community engagement committee. Gina, Courtney, and Zach are actually all on community engagement. Would any of you like to share kind of what that committee does?
Yeah, I can. I would say community engagement, we do a lot, and we're also sort of like the catch-all committee for things that don't really fit anywhere. But we tend to work a lot on the different communications that we send out to the neighborhood. So our e-newsletter, our print newsletter, and social media communications, as well as our Block Captain emails. And then also working a lot with different partners, like the folks who put on Woofstock or Wine and Stroll, and other folks who might need a little bit of funding or human resources to pull off their events. So we also work a lot with Camden Collective, is one of our biggest partners in North Minneapolis, and we work to do a monthly food share with them. And that is also run through the Community Engagement Committee. So anytime you see us kind of out pounding pavement or you get a communication from us, that's what the Community Engagement Committee is in charge of.
Yeah, that's great description. We do a lot of we partner with a lot of organizations for not smaller events, but we have a smaller piece of those. So like the Art Shanty Project, the Kite Festival, Wolfstock, Reindeer Day, and also Camden Collective. We do a coat drive for them, and then we participate in their winter festival where the coats are given away. And then there's also like holiday treats and Santa and all that kind of events there. So it's coming, it's 7:00, and I want to respect everybody's time. So maybe to wrap up here, there was one more. There was a question from someone who's interested in joining the board. They wanted to know what experience, talents, expertise is the board looking for in new members. And so I will, if anybody, does anybody in the group have?
I'll start.
Bali, go.
I would say like getting things done, like showing up. This is like a really passionate board, and so folks who are passionate about things, push them and get them done. I'd say like the best board member is a board member who has ideas but also has execution. Because if everybody just has ideas and nobody's doing anything, and there are definitely things we have to do. So like the main fundraiser for the board is the fall festival, and it requires all hands on deck. And like with the more the hands, the lighter the lift, or whatever the phrase is, it's 100% true. So doers, there's plenty of doers out there. We live in a community of doers.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on that a bit. I think doers, and also just be kind of confident in what your ideas are as you execute on them. I think some folks come in and have ideas, but then are like, you tell me how to do it. And one of the most fun things I think about the board is that you can come in and say, this is what I think we're missing, and this is how I would solve it. And provided you get the approval of the board, you can do it. You can take that on and do it yourself with, some support from the executive director or your fellow board members. So I would say the ability to get things done, but also the confidence to know that the way you want to do it is the best way, because you're the one who's creating the project and owning it. And so you kind of get to call the shots, which is fun as well.
I would say come as your authentic, unique self. Bring something different, and let the community know about it, and bring your ideas. I would say don't try to hold it back. Like Bali said, it's passionate board. Also, you need to have a college degree. I will say that. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke. No college degree necessary. Join though. Don't be hesitant. Just join. More people, the better. Join. Courtney?
Oh, sorry. I double down on what everybody said so far. I would agree. Definitely come as your authentic self. And we as a board, I think, do a very good job at doing our best to support. So like, if you have an idea, don't be shy to pitch it. And if it is something that we all collectively were like, yeah, absolutely, we will do our best to support you in any possible way. I think everybody kind of extends the hand and is like, if I can help, I'll help.
Yeah. I'll also say, like, some people like really odd things like me. And so I'm an attorney, so I really care about corporate governance. So I really like am geeked out by like looking at the bylaws and thinking about Robert's Rules of Order and how to have really efficient meetings. So like really like
That is
whatever
true. That is true.
strange and geeky thing
Exactly.
that you want to do, we have a home for you.
That is so
Absolutely.
true.
And
Yeah.
we're all the better for Bali coming in with his Robert's Rules of Orders knowledge, because we only knew as much as we knew, which Bali will say was not much. So he's totally right. Whatever it is that you're good at or care about, we can find a way to fold it in.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. Yeah. When I saw the question, I was like, there is no specific experience, talent, and expertise. And actually, the more diverse, the better for all of us to have come together with different strengths and backgrounds and talents makes us stronger. So don't let that preclude you. If you don't think you see yourself on the current board, don't let that stop you from joining, because we would love to have you. So with that, I'm going to just say our annual meeting and the kickoff to the elections October 10th. Applications are due October 3rd. If you go on our website, lindenhills.org, you will find a link on the front page, or you can go to lindenhills.org/join-link, and you will find it there. And if you have any questions, you can email me at info@lindenhills.org. And also, all these folks have, if you go to board and staff, their emails are on there as well. So you can reach out to them individually if you have questions. All right. Thank you guys all. And I will see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Peace.
Bye.